Dust rose like ghosts from the canyon floor, curling through the waning gold of late afternoon. A breathless wind swept over the land, dry and searching, and in its hush came the soft crunch of boots far too delicate for the desert. Sadie Quinn limped, blood caked at her temple, her breath thin but steady. Her dress, once cream and cotton, hung in torn layers about her knees. Every step was an act of memory, of pain, of escape, of the men who laughed while she begged. Her body trembled, but her eyes held. A flat horizon shimmered before her, endless and unkind. Her lips cracked as she whispered something to the dirt, something half prayer, half promise. The sun had not yet burned its last when she collapsed near a shallow creek, her fingers curling into the mud like roots trying to hold on. She didn't cry. Not yet. Crying would mean she had something left to spill. The shadow fell over her like a silent curtain. At first, she didn't lift her head. Shadows had never meant safety. Then a voice, not kind, not cruel, just low and certain, cut through the quiet. "Drink." She blinked. A canteen rested by her side. Its metal was worn, like the man who held it, a cowboy, broad-shouldered, dust-streaked, with wind-creased eyes that said little and remembered much. He squatted, arms resting on his knees, watching her without urgency, as if he'd seen worse and waited only to see what she'd choose, to live or to stop. She drank. Water traced the cracked edges of her lips, and for a moment, the world slowed to a single act of mercy. He said nothing more, just stood and waited. She tried to speak but coughed instead. Her throat betrayed her, clogged with dust and silence. "I ain't gonna hurt you," he said. "But you can come with me or lie here till the buzzards get bold." No hand offered, no smile, just choice. The rarest kind of grace. Curiosity stirred, slow as sap. Why hadn't he asked who she was? Where she came from? What she'd done to be left bleeding on the land? She pushed herself up, knees buckling. He turned, walked toward a horse that watched her with patient eyes. She followed. The ride to the ranch was quiet. He didn't ask her name. She didn't offer it. His horse trod soft through brush and silence, and she leaned forward, one arm wrapped around his middle, gripping the rough wool of his coat to stay upright. He smelled of cedar and gun oil and the kind of man who had buried more things than he'd spoken of. The house was a skeleton of something once grand. Wood-weathered gray, porch slats groaning, windows smudged with the breath of years. But there was a roof. A fire already kindled. A cot made up like someone might matter again. She sat. He poured coffee. The cup warmed her hands more than the drink itself. He set bread near her elbow. Then, as if he'd forgotten she was broken, he turned to chop wood by the barn. She watched. There was something in the way he moved, deliberate but tired. Like a man building something with no plans of living long enough to see it finished. When he returned, she found her voice. "Why'd you help me?" He didn't look at her. Just said, "Because someone didn't." The answer dropped like a coin into water, soft but deep. She didn't ask again. That night, she dreamt of laughter that wasn't cruel. Of her own voice not screaming. She woke in sweat, not from fear, but from the ache of remembering what gentleness could taste like. The days passed without the world asking her name. He was called Colt. She learned it by accident, hearing the name spoken by a man from town who dropped off feed and mail and didn't linger long. No one ever lingered near Colt McCrae. In that solitude, she began to breathe. He gave her chores without asking if she was ready. Fetch this, patch that, feed the dog, who limped like her and didn't ask questions either. There was no pity, no apology, just space to be. Sometimes she caught him watching her, not with hunger, not with sorrow, but with the same quiet he gave to the moonrise. Like she was part of something he didn't want to disturb. It was Tess who brought the news. A woman built of hard work and loose laughter, who looked at Sadie like she knew the shape of silence too. "You know Virgil Kane's back in town?" Tess asked, glancing at Colt. Sadie froze. The name bloomed inside her like a bruise. Colt's jaw set. Heard. He's looking for something. Let him look, Colt said. But Sadie knew men like Virgil didn't look. They hunted. She waited until Tess left before she spoke. Her voice was smaller than she wanted. They broke my bones for fun. He turned slow. I figured. She swallowed. Why? Because breaking things makes weak men feel strong. They laughed while they did it. I know. His voice was low, almost a growl. Then I'll break them twice as slowly. She looked at him then, and the canyon between them narrowed. That night she couldn't sleep. She stood on the porch, watching stars blink into existence, each one a needle of memory. He joined her, offered no words, just stood beside her until the sky turned deeper. They used to say I had a strong back, she said, not knowing why she needed to. You still do. I'm not sure what's left of me. Enough. He said it like scripture. Later, when she stitched a tear in his coat, she did it not because he asked, but because he had left the rip untouched, as if waiting for someone who'd want to mend it. Small things built between them. A shared cup. A glance held longer than needed. Her hand brushing his when passing tools. No declarations. No sudden flood of feeling. Just warmth where there had been cold. But still, the fear sat curled in her chest. Virgil would come. Men like him always did. When the first shot rang out at sunrise, it shattered not just silence, but the fragile peace she'd begun to trust. Colt didn't flinch. He grabbed his rifle, pressed a revolver into her palm. If I don't come back, ride west. Don't look back. I won't leave you. His eyes burned. Then stay low. She watched from the barn as Colt stepped out alone. 3 men. 1 cause. Virgil in the center, his smirk slick as snake oil. Well, well, Virgil called. Heard you were nursing a stray. She's not yours to speak of. Virgil spat. Everything out here belongs to men who can take it. Colt's reply was quiet. Then try. Gunfire cracked. Not loud, but final. 1 man dropped, then another. Virgil panicked. Colt moved like someone who'd already died once and decided not to again. He didn't shoot Virgil. Just beat him, slow and deliberate, each punch a memory. Virgil cried out, begged, whimpered. They broke her bones, Colt said between strikes. For fun. He pressed Virgil's face into the dirt. Now you know how it feels to be made small. He tied him up and hauled him behind a horse like a sack of rotting promises. When he returned, his knuckles were raw, and he didn't speak. She washed his hands. Neither thanked the other. Weeks passed. The land softened. Her limp eased. She planted a flower by the window. Yellow, stubborn, wild. One night, he sat beside her by the fire. Their hands found each other. No heat. Just wait. Presence. You staying? He asked. If you'll have me. He nodded once. That was all. She pressed her head to his shoulder. He didn't move. They broke me, she whispered. No, he said. They tried. And somehow that was enough to begin again. To anyone still running, you are not what they did. You are what you chose after. Even ash can sweeten into honey if the right hands hold it.